Oh, I am. Good morning.
KJ forgets how to use technology once in a while.
Good morning. Come on in. Let's make some lunch. It's my 10 o'clock lunch. That's about when I've been eating lunch, is about 10 o'clock. I've been having my breakfast about 6:30, and I've been having my lunch at about 10 o'clock. Come on in. I'm going to get chopping. I'm going to get chopping hard here while y'all join. If you're watching live, I'd love if you'd say hello so I know you're here. Hey, Sarah. Good morning. Hey, Carrie. Good to see ya. Oh, dropping veggies. All right. I should probably not use that, but whatever. My hair, I know. My messy bun gets a little big sometimes. I think it's more the angle. My actual angle looks like this, but when I'm like this, the camera's coming down and it makes my hair look huge. Cindy, listen, the bigger the hair, the closer to Jesus. Come on, Jennifer, get your butt out of bed. Do I need to come up there and wake you up? Hey, Jackie. Hey, Bonnie. Hey, Beverly over on YouTube. Hey, Mallory. All right, you guys. So today I'm making rich and tender stew. Has anybody here made the rich and tender stew? It's on page something. It's on page 38 of Trim Healthy Cookbook. Has anybody made it? The rich and tender stew is meant to be a crock pot recipe. So when you take a beef recipe that's supposed to be a tender recipe, it's going to be a little challenging to make it quick. Good for you. You're not a big stew fan? Have you tried this one, Cindy? This one's actually pretty good. All right, but I'm going to make it with a twist, okay? I have some chicken broth simmering over here. Stew is something that takes quite a while to get to marry the flavors of the veggies and to really get a nice tender stew. It takes time. It takes patience. Okay? So making stew quick on the stovetop is not the world's easiest thing. So I'm making it with a twist. I'm going to simmer my veggies for just a few minutes. I'm not going to simmer them a long time, but I don't want crunchy veggies in my stew. So I am going to puree my stew in my blender so that even though my veggies are only mildly tender, they're going to be perfectly tender in the blender. They're going to be blender tender. It's blender tender stew. We're renaming this recipe. It's blender tender stew. That's what's going to make it tender. Whatever. Yeah. So it calls for peppers and onions and radishes, and it calls for a whole bunch. It's like 2 to 3 pounds of meat, a whole bunch of radishes, a whole bunch of, this is probably going to make my stew red, just so you know. It's going to be bright pink stew because of the radishes. And the radishes get nice and tender like potatoes. I ain't got time for all that nonsense this morning. I just don't. So this may come out wonderfully and it may come out awful. We're about to find out. I'm just going to tenderize them a little bit. I've got a pepper, or a quarter of a pepper, quarter of an onion, 3 radishes, and I'm going to put some celery in there. Don't worry. I washed all my veggies off camera. Don't worry. They're nice and clean. Nothing to fear here. But to get my veggies really tender and to get my meat really tender, it would take quite a while, right? It would take at least an hour to get them semi-tender. And this recipe is one that you have cooking on the crock pot for like 6 hours. My pants are on fire. I hope not. Do I need to drop, stop, and roll? Drop, stop, and roll. Or stop, drop, and roll. Or do you mean they're on fire? That kind of fire. Or are they actually on fire? Do I need to drop? What kind of fire are we talking here? Oh, liar, liar. They're neither. She's not talking about either of those. She's not complimenting my backside in these pants. I thought she was complimenting me on how fabulous I look in these pants. Nope. She's calling me a liar. All right. Well, I hear you. I hear you. All right, we're gonna let that tenderize, and I'm gonna throw some seasonings and stuff into my blender tender stew. It calls for a whole thing of tomato paste, but I'm just gonna put a little dibby dab, a squirt. That's why you need it in this tube, so you can have instant tomato paste when you need it. And then it calls for a bunch of seasonings, so just put them in. Don't put what they call for, or it's gonna be the world's strongest. There's some Worcestershire, and then there's the seasonings that you would anticipate being in a stew. The same ones. I'm not measuring them. I'm just sprinkling some in. All I'm doing is looking at the recipe for the actual ingredients, and then I'm just seasoning it. That's it. I'm not measuring any of it. Thank you, Sarah. I'm gonna be looking finer real soon. All right, black pepper and salt. We need that. All right. What else? Did I get all the seasonings? I did. No, I didn't. I want some cayenne. We gotta have some kick. Whoa. Just so you know, I think I might need to scoop a little of that out. That's way that I forget that container comes out really, really fast. That would have been some hot stew. Rich, tender, and burning your face off stew. It's the rage these days. Burning your face off stew. All right, I'm just gonna let them cook for like 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna throw them in the blender. And it's gonna be like a creamed stew. It's gonna have hot mama stew. We could call it hot mama stew. It's not gonna have the same texture as regular stew, but that's okay. It's gonna have the same flavor, and it's gonna be quick. So I'm gonna take 2 of these little, I don't know, how much do you think? Let me weigh that out. I wanna make sure I'm not taking, like, sometimes you can greatly overestimate the amount of protein you need. You need a lot of protein, but sometimes I think we think that 3 ounces of protein is like 2 big cups of meat, and it's not. So just so you know, that paper towel weighs 4 grams, in case you were wondering. I'm gonna put this on ounces. I just wanna see how much one of these little steaks is. That is 3 ounces. See? I would have thought I needed 2 whole ones of those because they're just thin. That's 3 ounces. I'm gonna do another half of one. These are called sizzle steaks. This is just cheap cut, thin, floppy beef. All right, so that's 5 ounces. So by the time it cooks down, that's good. It's 4.5, about 4.56. So it's 4.5 ounces. I'm gonna cut this really, really the skinny, floppy beef. Carrie. Oh, fun. Co-op. I'm just gonna cut this in little tiny pieces because there's no way to make this super tender super fast. So the best way to make it super tender super fast is to cut it super tiny. Just a wee bit tiny, like a whole lot of tiny, I mean. I had a dream last night that Marin was graduating high school, and we went back to Maine to watch the kids that she went to school with when she was a little girl graduate. Because lately she'd been coming out of the bedroom all dressed up and makeup done and hair done and looking all 17. And so all of a sudden I'm like dreaming of high school graduations and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, 2 years. She graduates school in 2, wait, next year, this time she'll be almost done 11th. And yeah, 2 years. I don't know that it would, Shirley. I don't think that soaking this meat in ACV is gonna tenderize it that quick. So that's why I'm just cutting it little itty bitty tiny. So it'd be little bites. And this is the world's cheapest steak. Sizzle steak. It's just cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. I know. 2 years, Meredith. What? 2 years? You know, hopefully we know some people by then, or it's going to be a really boring graduation party. All right, I'm going to get that sizzling with a little bit of fat. Well, wrong one. I'm going to get a little bit of fat in the pan. I'm just using butter. You can use coconut oil if you want, but I want butter. I like the butter and beef together. That would be, look, I was just about to push up my glasses because my hair's on my face and it made it feel like it's my glasses. It's crazy, Jennifer. I don't know that if they make mini instant pots, but that's a genius idea. If they don't, somebody needs to get on it. All right. I'm gonna give that a little cook. Needs a little salt, don't it? A little salt on the meat. All right. The last step is I'm gonna put it in a blender. They do have a mini one. Sure, you could absolutely use Hamburger Mom. Sure thing. Use some hamburger, especially I just don't have any. I do have some, but I'm doing it to make Pearl's chili for the contest because I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win that chili contest. Don't ask me how, but I'm gonna. I'm gonna figure it out. So that's the hamburger is reserved for chili. That's true. I know, Alice. It's crazy. Baby's graduating. Ugh. I'm feeling old lately. I feel like I'm not looking forward to this birthday this year. I haven't really been that bothered by birthdays. And now all of a sudden, I'm going to be on the downhill slope towards 50. I guess I was on the downhill slope towards 50 when I hit 26. But I'm going to be officially on the downhill slope. I don't know that I'm all right with it. I'm not entirely sure that I'm on board with this nonsense of getting older. Whose idea was that? I bet it was a man's. Yes, I have to beat it to a time like that. You are, Shirley. You're hitting 50 this year. Shirley, you're going to be 50. 71. I'm not going to be 71. It's not happening. Well, Susan, that's bad news. Shirley, there's no way. You're not going to be 60, liar. Now whose pants are on fire? Not KJ's. Oh, it's all right. I'll be all right. That's right. I guess I might as well get on board. Right, Jennifer? You're right, Faith. Only the Lord knows. Woo, she's cooking. Ooh, this is gonna be yummy. Woo, hello. Flying meat. Whoa, that was close. All right. Carrie. Oh, Susan, Sarah will be turning 35. I remember when I turned, well, I don't remember. Let me see. I remember I was 30. Was it 30? Yeah. I was working at the hospital and Marin was just maybe a one. Yeah. And my 30th birthday came along and I was like, I'm 30. Like I'm not in my 20s anymore. Like for some reason, 30 felt like it wasn't like one of those really upsetting ages. It just I was like, what do you mean I'm gonna be 30? And I said to the VP of nursing came down, and we were all talking, and I got kind of teary eyed and said I was going to be 30 on Thursday, and she came over to me and she's like, "Oh, sweetheart," and she put her hands on my shoulder and then she smacked me in the face. She goes, "Knock it off." I still laugh about that because she was 70. Knock it off. She was so funny. I'll never forget that. Oh, it was at that moment I kind of realized, get over it. 30 is nothing. Oh, all right. I'm gonna wrap this stuff up. I need to get more saran wrap. I went through a whole bunch because I wrapped up my Christmas tree. I wrapped up my entire Christmas tree in saran wrap with the ornaments on and carried it upstairs. I parked it in the corner of my. I'm, I'm never decorating a Christmas tree again. Carrie. Jackie, we're a bunch of we're all young, right? We're all young in comparison to Methuselah. So there's that. We're just babies. Imagine Methuselah. I bet when he was 900, he was probably like, come on. Can I go already? $50 says he was thinking that. This is getting a little old at this point. I'm 960 years old. Can we just move this on? I can imagine it. All right, well, my stew is cranking here, starting to tender up a little bit. My radishes are starting to tender up a little, just a touch. I'm gonna throw them in the blender. They're not gonna be chunky. That's right, Meredith. Surely. Yeah. I mean, Methuselah probably didn't sleep on a Tempur-Pedic. So at 960, what was he when he died? 965? Right, Mom? It makes you feel like a young pup. Can you imagine Methuselah? I mean, it's hard enough to put up with somebody complaining when somebody you're married to and they're like, "Oh, I'm sore from getting out of bed. I'm too old. I'm too old." Can you imagine Methuselah and his wife? She must have been like, "Move on." You miss the kitchen chaos? You miss me making a mess in my kitchen not because I'm following recipes? All right, well, let's blow up a blender then. I mean, chances are it's gonna happen. All right, here's all my ingredients. They're just tender enough to blender. It's my tender blender stew. It's a little hot to be putting the cover on and blending, but we're gonna try it anyway, and everybody pray right now that it doesn't make a mess. If any one of you prays that this blows up, I'm coming for you. Because it's hot. All right, pause. Let some of the heat out. Pause and let some of the heat out. It's important. You gotta burp the blender so she don't blow. I'm missing a foot on Brenda. She's over here. She's a little tipsy. All right. So it's blended, but now I gotta add the stuff. Don't you do it. Don't you pray for explosions in my kitchen. All right. Now I'm gonna add the good stuff. She calls for some yeast. She calls for a little bit of half and half or coconut milk. I ain't put no coconut milk in my tomato stuff. Sounds terrible. It's probably not that bad, but it sounds terrible. Ooh, that smells good. I'm just gonna put a little splash, a half and half in there. Just a wee bit. And then it calls for glucose. I do have some of my I still have a bunch of my agar. Could do that. Let's put some glucose in there. Get a little gut health going on top of this. Calls for a 1/4 teaspoon in the whole recipe, but I'm going to put a 1/4 teaspoon in my single serve so I get some extra. A little extra glucose. Good for you. I think I'm going to put a touch more tomato paste in here too, just because I want to. I know, it is good time for a good disaster in the kitchen. I had a disaster not that long ago. What did I drop all over the floor? I dropped something. I don't remember what it was. I'm getting better at my job, Jennifer. All right. So is this going to be chunky like beef stew? No, that's why it's tender blender beef stew. It smells wonderful. You know what it smells like? Beef stew. Let's put it in. What should we put it in to eat it? I don't know. That's not big enough bowls. I guess it is. It's just a touch shy. I gotta put my meat in there. I really should have simmered the, you know what? I should have simmered this all together. I should have. I should have put it back on the stove and simmered the meat in there for a second. Whatever. I'm in a hurry for lunch. I don't have time to be simmering extra stuff. Let's see, it looks good. Think it's gonna taste good? It's tender blender stew. All right, let's try it. I think it's gonna be good. It smells. It's hot though. Oh, it's good. It's not crunchy meat. It's nice and tender. That's really yummy. Oh man. If I was eating personal choice items, I'd have this with a little bit of what am I trying to say? Keto bread, keto toast. That's really good, you guys. That's delicious. And that is just barely an S. I mean, the only fat in there, oh no, I cooked it in butter too. Yeah, put a little nooch on top. I just need to eat this down a little before I put it in the fridge because I'm gonna eat this for lunch and like, what time is it? It's 9. I'm gonna eat it at 10. That's really genius, Susan. Swiss bread. Yep. I'll have Swiss bread with it. You know what I should have put it in? I'm going to go ahead and dirty a second dish because I can see disaster about to happen. That's a much more appropriate dish. Look at that. Yummy. It looks like tomato soup, but there's no tomato. Well, there's tomato paste. That is delicious. It's spicy. It has a beefy flavor. It's beefy. It's got, you can taste, get in there and stop giving me a hard time. You can taste the celery, but it doesn't taste like a raw veggie soup. It's really good, y'all. This is delicious. That's good. That didn't take no time at all. Look at that. 25 minutes, and half of that was me running my face. Only thing I got to do now is wash 78 dishes. Perfectly fine. I have a pot, a pan, a blender, and an extra bowl. There we go. What do you think? Is this something you would try? Tell me in the comments. I want to know. Will you try this? I'm totally going to have it with Swiss bread when it's time to eat. I'm just not going to eat right now because I just have my essentials at 6 o'clock. My protein is still burning. I don't need it yet, so I'm going to eat it about 10. I've been eating lunch about 10:30. This is great. Easy peasy. All the flavors of the beef stew in a quick stovetop meal. And you could, yeah, it's good, Shirley. Well, do you like tomato soup? It kind of tastes like a beef flavored tomato soup. It's really good. It's really good. I'll put that on there to avoid spillage. Put that in my fridge. It's really spicy too because all the cayenne I put in there, which I actually really, really like. So there's one person, okay, two people that are willing to try it. The rest of you are just watching going, what? Two people will be willing to try it. Well, good for you two people. All right, well, it's time for me to go clean up my mess, reheat my coffee with a little extra Joe. Let me just fill that up to the top. And I have to go work on things. If you haven't seen, okay, 3 people. Yay, 3 people gonna try it. 3 out of 70. The rest of you just think I'm nuts. I mean, you know I'm nuts. All right. Oh, I should have taken a picture of that before I covered it up. I suppose I can do that later. Tuesday night, I am doing a webinar called Unstoppable, Keeping Your Momentum from New Year's past January. How do we keep that momentum going? It's so easy to fall off the wagon mid-January and by February be like, yeah. So go register. If you're there live Tuesday night, for somebody who joins live will win a seat in Holy Healthy Holidays, New Year. I'm so confused. Holy Healthy New Year, February, March package. There's a 2-month package coming up for $169. And somebody who joins live on Tuesday night, I'm going to give away a seat in that. So make sure you go register and join me for the live event at 8 p.m. Eastern Tuesday night. And then we start Holy Healthy Holiday. My goodness, Holy Healthy New Year, February, March. They do, Alice. Oh my gosh. I like my stew chunky too, but in order to keep it chunky, I have to let it simmer for hours, where this one is a super quick, super fast meal. And honestly, I could have pureed the veggies probably raw, but I think this helped marry the flavors a little. It's really, really great. It's hearty and it's savory, which I love me some savory. I'll probably drizzle a little Bragg's on there when I go to eat it. That will be really good. So, all right, you guys, I hope you join me Tuesday night and I'll see you there. And if not, well, then I won't see you there. I'm going today to look at a couple. Oh, awesome, Michelle. I'm so glad you made it. Yeah, you could do canned veggies. Yeah, absolutely. But you're not going to find canned celery and canned radishes. But you could totally do it with like peas. Put some peas in there, some chunky tomatoes. You could throw like half a can of chunky tomatoes in there, and that would give you some texture. retreat information hopefully will be coming soon. We are making some changes to our original plan as far as timing and as far as location. So I'm going to look at a couple of facilities today and hopefully we'll have answers for you soon of when the retreat is. We're trying to kind of change it up a little to a 2-day instead of a 4-day event and possibly move the location. So, all right, I could jardinera on top of that if I had some. I do have all my veggies to ferment. I just got to do it. I haven't done it yet. I got to go back and watch the video because I don't remember how to ferment veggies. I got to go learn from Malone again, Mary Malone. All right, you guys, thanks for joining me. I love you all so much. I hope you have an amazing Thursday, and I will see you back tomorrow for more devotions and for breakfast. What is tomorrow? What are we making tomorrow? Ugh, probably not that because I don't like it. Ridiculous meatballs and spaghetti. So this one, while I could totally make it with my already cooked ground turkey, I could make a sauce and pour it over palmini instead of, or not naughty noodles instead of that. That's what I'll do. I'm trying to look at the ingredients. Yeah, we could do that. We can make meatballs and spaghetti, but it won't be balls and it won't be spaghetti. All right, guys, I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing